exciting show. We're going to talk about the NFL divisional round and what we expect from it. We talk about Texas's inconsistent start in Big 12 play for men's basketball. We'll finish with some talk about our women's basketball team. So we got a packed show today.
I got to go the other way. You know, Texas A&M, they got a lot of identity issues. Are they an agricultural school? Are they military? Are they blue collar? Are they academics? They're all over the place. So
now, I'm always a sucker for a one-handed catch. I have tiny hands. I need 3 of them just to catch a football. So this one-handed grab in the end zone, that's just super impressive in my eyes. That's going to be my play of the week.
Mayo pour on College game day. Look at this. It's the guy and the North Carolina, South Carolina game. He's straight eating it, shirt off, rubbing it on his body.
Hey, listen, the Cinderella story ends here, Texans. I'm sorry, man. The chariots turns back into the pumpkin. It struck midnight. Whatever you want to say, I think it ends here.
To the senior show of the 1-0 Sports Show. My name is Joseph Duffey. I'm joined alongside another senior in Robert Gonsoulin. How you doing, Robert?
I'm doing great. I'm glad I was able to make it on 1-0 before the finishing out strong.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a good year for 1-0 Sports Show and a great week for sports really this past week. Of course, Rory Mcilroy winning the Masters that you so desperately wanted him to win.
Party like it's 2014.
Yeah, for sure.
Get a legendary golfer, get him his championship of golf.
Yeah, for a guy like me who never really cared for golf that much, I mean, I was just locked in the final round, and we'll break it all down later on the show. But first, today's show is brought to you by Cab Metro Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to your next Longhorns game at cabmetro.org. And also, it still is the 24/7 stream where we ask that you donate to Hornraiser to help fund student voices here at Texas Student Media and TSTV. If you'd be so kind, click the link in the description on YouTube and donate. So we're going to dive into the show here in the 1-0 Sports Show. We're going to start with who's hot and who's not. But first, who is hot to you right now, Robert?
Yeah, I got to go with Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals. Most goals in NHL history over the past week. 895 was the record-setting goal. He's now at 897, as you can see up there, getting some goals. One as a power play, and then another one just popping it right in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, what a career for Alex Ovechkin. Personally, I didn't realize that he was that close to Wayne Gretzky. I think I said this like last week to you and Ryan Hopper, but man, I didn't know he was that close to even catching Wayne Gretzky, because I always assumed that Wayne Gretzky had like 900, 1,000 goals.
Yeah.
But even then, like, he's still obviously the greatest of all time. I don't think anybody's really taking that away from him, because he's also great at passing the rock with his assists too.
I don't watch a ton of hockey, but with this record being broken now by Ovechkin, does he put himself in much better conversation for, okay, is he going to be the GOAT maybe? Is that a legitimate conversation that can be had?
What does Ryan Hopper think? Washington Capitals fan. Fair. Still an all-time player. Who's hot? I'm going to go with Tyler Soderstrom from the Athletics. Not the Oakland Athletics, not the Vegas Athletics, just Athletics. The league leading 9 home runs. Had another one last night against the White Sox. Through 19 games, he's hitting .314. Has a 1071 OPS. Look at him crank that one towards right field. Again, 9 home runs so far to start the season, leading the league. Right behind him, Cal Raleigh has 8 with Seattle Mariners, but look at this other anchor right here. Yeah, big dumper. But look at Tyler Soderstrom right now, being one of the big stars for the Athletics. It seems like every few years they find a way to just, refresh themselves after having all-time bad seasons and getting right back into maybe a wild-card race.
Do you think Soderstrom is one of those players on the Athletics who's just kind of playing, he's a great player, but playing out of anger a little bit just because of the whole situation with having to move from Oakland, and now they're just calling themselves the Athletics? they're going to be going to Vegas in a year or two. Do you think he's one of those plays for the city players? He's a not a hometown guy, but
yeah.
he's just popping off right now because
Doing it for the
he's
fans.
just mad at the situation.
The people's player, basically. You know, I mean, he could be that guy, I guess, if he wants to be, but you know, it's kind of sad what they're doing with these players, having them play in a minor league park. One of two teams now playing in a minor league park, and by the way, having the media be in the shed. You know, I don't know if you've seen that picture of where they host their post-game pressers. They put them like in this little shed next to the stadium in West Sacramento.
Wow.
It's pretty bad right now. Let's go to who's not, Robert, and who you have for who's not really having a good go of it right now.
Unfortunately for you, Joe, I have to go with the Dallas Stars. I mean, one seed heading into the Stanley Cup playoffs, but they started the season, or they played the whole season with a 50-21-4 record, and then they lost the last 7 games. Currently on a 7-game losing streak. So they want to kind of catch fire in this playoff round. They have to kind of get past the Colorado Avalanche first, and you know the Avalanche, they're a pretty good team regardless of what seed they're gonna be. But still, just even if the Dallas Stars have an edge in this first round of the playoffs, a 7-game losing streak does not give them a lot of confidence heading into the first round.
Yeah, limping to the playoffs with the Dallas Stars. Jason Roberson got hurt in that final game against the Nashville Predators. Might be out in Game 1. Could miss the whole first round against the Avs. Of course, Miro Heiskanen got hurt against the Golden Knights. Mark Stone, I know TJ Close is not really liking Mark Stone, especially now for the second year in a row. A little bit of dirty play, but the Stars were kind of limping to the playoffs with 7 straight losses. But I'm going to have to go with the Sacramento Kings, and boy, oh boy, this team has been trashed my entire life, really. And you look at how they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, a team that's actually just getting healthier by now. Derek Lively came back recently. AD came back a few weeks ago. But Klay Thompson was cooking this team as well. Caught fire in Sacramento. And after, halfway through the second quarter, the Mavs really started to pull away. And since 2013, the Kings are the only team in the NBA to not make the playoffs more than once. Of course, they made the playoffs a few seasons ago, being the 3rd seed, going against the Warriors. That's the only time they made the playoffs since 2007. And they gave up Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox in the past 3 years. And then you see how they lost that game. They needed guard play.
And speaking of which, on the other hand, you have the Mavericks. And I'm not saying that the fan base will ever get over that Luka trade. I'm not sure they will. But you mentioned that they're getting healthier. Lively's back. Anthony Davis is back. It seems that, even though they're still mad about that trade, the dust has settled a little bit in terms of, okay, the fans are wounds are healing a little bit, and they're gonna go forward with the team they have right now. And now you have these healthy players who are coming back from a horrific March, horrific February, and now they can make a playoff push. Not saying that they might go far, they could, but with all these players healthy and they're kind of putting the past behind their shoulders a little bit, the Mavs can really do something.
What sucks the most is losing Kyrie Irving, which obviously Nico Harrison was not expecting. But when you trade off a star, a generational star like Luka Doncic, and then Anthony Davis gets hurt in his debut with the Mavericks, and then Kyrie Irving gets hurt later on, right after he gets hurt, it's just like a nightmare. So who knows where the Mavs would be if Kyrie Irving was still healthy. But man, it is a good sight to see a Mavericks win amidst all the controversy. We're going to move on a little bit past this who's hot, who's not, and go to what's trending. Of course, early Saturday morning it was announced that Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava had entered the transfer portal over NIL contract disputes with the University of Tennessee. It was announced Wednesday that the sophomore will be signing with UCLA. So, with these rumors going on, where do you think he'll sign, Robert, and what does it say about the current landscape of college football?
So, I think that Iamaleava will be with UCLA officially before the portal closes. He will be there. He doesn't have the value of the deal he was hopefully bargaining for at Tennessee, but he will be there as a UCLA Bruin, and therefore he's going to be in the Big Ten. We clearly saw this past year that the Big Ten was a better conference than the SEC. I mean, at least in the college football playoffs we did. That's where we saw it. Does not mean that's going to be a consistent trend moving forward, but the Big Ten is a great conference. And I do think that he will bring UCLA back to some level of glory this year in the Big Ten, but that success will be limited the Big Ten is the Big Ten, and I think it might be a little bit of a rude awakening just with all that's happened to Iamaleava. Just with all that's happened, there's going to be some success with UCLA, but the Big Ten is still going to be like that NIL arguing for a better deal. That's not going to fly in our conference a little bit. You know, you still got to be able to play with some of the biggest quarterbacks in college football. Ohio State, Michigan. You're going to have USC. So the success for UCLA will be better with Nico, but they're not going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game. I don't even think they're going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's UCLA, and look, they're not historically a phenomenal, football program, but I gotta say, Dan Lanning of Oregon came clutch, kind of leaking this info to Josh Heupel, the coach of Tennessee, saying, you know what they're doing? Nico and his dad, they're trying to, look for more money. And
what a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. He came clutch for Josh Heupel. Look, I like players to get their money in NIL, but it's getting out of hand at this point. And you have a guy like Nico, who was not exactly good in conference play in the SEC, played well against non-conference opponents, but when you look at his stats, of course, especially in the actual conference season, but also against Ohio State, he was struggling a lot. Didn't look as good as I thought he would be.
There needs to be regulations. There needs to be regulations.
Sure.
I don't know how that's going to take form because we have players. No disrespect, we have players playing now who are on their 7th or 8th season of college, just trying to squeeze out their 4th year of eligibility somehow. And I don't know whether it means taking a year of eligibility away from transfer, but there needs to be some sort of limitations put into place.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I don't know how they're going to do it, but we thought the NIL would just be about, having your little Bijan Mustardson little product right here that you can promote on the side, but now it just turns out to be a pay-to-play for most of these rich schools such as the University of Texas. So, moving on here to the NBA playoffs, which begin tomorrow. There are some clear top contenders like the Cavs and Thunder, but some are scoffing at their regular season success. That being said, Robert, who is your favorite to win the NBA title?
All right, this might sound like chalk, but I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder. To me, personally, I haven't felt that a team has been this dominant since the 72-9 Warriors. And I know that team didn't win an NBA championship, but this team does not lose games. I mean, they don't. With Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren together, they provide way too many opportunities to score when they're both healthy. Shai can shoot. Chet, he's the big guy down low. He can also find ways to score as a power forward too. Maybe even a small forward a little bit, but he is their big guy together on the floor. I mean, they're the most complete, youngest team in the NBA. Maybe next to the Rockets. They're one of the most complete, young teams in the NBA right now. When they're all healthy, they play amazing. And I don't know if you saw this. I'm going to bring up a meme I saw a while ago, but it was top 5 teams in the NBA. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder without Shai. The Thunder without Chet Holmgren. This team has so many different ways to score when they're playing together on the court that it's just they don't lose games. I have them against the Cavs in 6 games.
SGA is officially the scoring champion. As Cordy alluded to, the prolific scoring OKC. I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics. Of course, Nico Harrison loves to talk about, defense wins championships. And in a way, he's right. Look how the Celtics won the NBA Finals last year against the Dallas Mavericks. It was by stout defense on the perimeter. Guys like Derrick White, guys like Jaylen Brown. I thought that the defense of the Celtics was how they really won last year. I think that's how they can win again. Of course, they have great offensive play as well with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but I do think that defense still matters in this league today, and I think that that's the time of the year for the Celtics to thrive. We've seen them do it already, and I think that their head coach will lead them to victory yet again. I think they can be back-to-back champions, possibly against the Lakers. We'll dive into that in the future of the show, but I do think that the Celtics can win the finals yet again. So moving on here to now the Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay.
We're going to try to see who can begin the quest for the Stanley Cup. Of course, a lot of big series coming up with the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars, historic rivalry right there, but a lot of big-time teams missing. The original U.S. 6 teams are not going to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time ever.
None of the 6 will.
The U.S. 6, the original U.S. 6, yeah. So, kind of insane for the NHL playoffs, but who do you have winning the Stanley Cup Finals, Robert?
All right, I'm sorry to Mr. Ryan Hopper in the audience, but I'm going to go with the Toronto Maple Leafs because Hey, 1 seed, they are so due. They haven't won a Stanley Cup in 57 years, and they have had 9 straight Stanley Cup playoff appearances. The last time they won a round in the playoffs was 2017. They had Also, Austin Matthews, their center, able to score goals very efficiently. I mean, this team just kind of runs up the score so much. I mean, you have Matthews who's scoring in the first period, and then he's going in the third period and scoring 2 more goals, getting some hat tricks sometimes. I mean, this is the team that if they're due, they need to score when they can, and this is a very efficient scoring team. I have the Maple Leafs with Austin Matthews.
Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs have been a little bit of a laughing stock in NHL lore, and I didn't realize how much of a parallel they had with my Dallas Cowboys. And the NFL, of course, they've lost a lot of heartbreakers, especially last year. I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars. And look, I see some parallels also with a familiar DFW team. I like the 2023 Texas Rangers, who were great in the regular season, but just flat out fell off a cliff in the last month and a half of the season, especially against the Twins, especially in the last week against the Seattle Mariners, really just lagging into the playoffs in the MLB postseason on the second to last day of the regular season against the Mariners. Look, this Stars team, like you said, is limping into the playoffs. Miro Heiskanen is not in there right now. Jason Robertson, like I said earlier, is kind of beat up right now and might not play in Game 1 against the Avalanche. But all it takes is just a few games to get started. And look, the playoffs is a whole new season. The regular season doesn't matter anymore. We saw this team just last year in the Stars win the Central Division and find a way to still lose to the Edmonton Oilers, who caught fire in the Western Conference. So I'm going to go with the Stars with a little bit of extra work that they're going to have with Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen out. I think that Jake Ottinger can step with the Stars team in the defense. I have the Stars winning the Stanley.
Hey, every single championship team needs a little bit of a rough patch at some point in the season in order to win a championship. I mean, you could be like the 72-9 Warriors, like I mentioned a second ago, but then they lost the championship. They lost the finals. That was their rough patch. Every single championship team goes on some sort of losing streak. Why not have it right before the playoffs?
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. That'll wrap it up for this A block here on the 1-0 Sports Senior Show. We'll be right back for our B block. Don't go anywhere in the 1-0 Sports.
turn a championship.
Welcome back to the 1-0 Sports Senior Show. We're now joined by our legendary guest, Mr. Ryan Hopper, the College Crossfire Tournament of Champion this year.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm happy to be here. Happy to be back in the studio on a Monday morning. They got my boy Joe camouflaged in here. He's hiding from natural predators.
Man. Give me some lighting in here.
Wow,
please.
That's crazy, man. I didn't know it was this bad.
Jesus.
But I'm ready to judge some plays.
Well, we're excited to have you on here. So just before we hop in, we just had some NHL talk. Your Washington Capitals are also 1 seed. How are you feeling about that?
Feeling really good. 1 seed in the East. Only finished about 5 points behind Winnipeg for the President's Trophy. But the real trophy that matters, Rob, is Lord Stanley, the Stanley Cup. I need to see Alex Ovechkin holding this one up for his legacy to get his second cup. Way different core from 2018. Lots of young guys. Really good coach. We'll see what happens. I think they'll at least make the second round, and maybe they'll wait to disappoint me till the end of the conference finals.
Well, when you come off a record, NHL, one of the biggest records ever, most goals, and you're going to the playoffs as a 1 seed, you've got to be feeling good this week.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot to look forward to right now with just the Stanley Cup, NBA playoffs, college baseball going on. We're going to hop in to some of the top plays from this past week across a whole bunch of different sports. So starting things off, Joe, who do you have for this week in the best NBA playoff play?
Yeah, Rob, we're going to go to the Grizzlies and Warriors playing matchup they had at Chase Center. Jimmy Butler trying to drive the lane, going to go to Draymond Green. A little give and go to Curry in the corner. The three-pointer good. I'll show a few more angles and slow-mos, but I really love the flow of this play. We've seen it so many times with these two, and Draymond and Curry, little two-man game as they rock it to the corner. Great design by Steve Kerr. And just a great finish, as always, by the chef.
All right, so for me, I got a quick little play right here. I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks against the Sacramento Kings in the play-in the other night. Here's Anthony Davis with an alley-oop to Derek Lively right over the rim. Mavericks showing they still have that firepower here. Give me that. Brings it down, and the Mavericks increasing their chances to make a playoff push.
Well, I was surprised the Mavs got up off the mat and won that game in dominant fashion. Always good to see the big fella get up for an alley-oop. But, it's just tough because we've each seen, plays like this before. Maybe not with AD throwing it, but, we've seen a lively alley-oop before. We've seen Curry coming off some great screen action before. But I am going to give it to Joe because that play design was really nice by Steve Kerr. Number one with the Grizzlies, you got to know who you're guarding. You got to get over that screen, but he didn't. And part of that was because it was a great play. I'm going to have to give it to Joe there.
It was a beautifully drawn-up play. It was like poetry in motion right there.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Stephen Curry's going to bring it, going to drain it down and kind of put a little exclamation point on it at the end. Moving on now, so Masters was this past weekend. There's a lot of golf going on right now. RBC Heritage is started yesterday, so the PGA Tour is in prime form right now. Joe, who do you have for the best golf play recently?
I've got to say this final round this past Sunday, Patrick Reed. I knew when they were going to cut away back to this guy that something crazy is about to happen because he was now in the top 5 in the leaderboard at the time, I believe. Actually, I think he actually moved up to 3rd after this, but all of a sudden gets the nice eagle right there, and his reaction is what made it funny. It's like, did that go in? I go in? Or I thought he was frozen for a long time. Then he turns back and is like just as confused as everybody else because he heard no reaction from the crowd. But what a shot from Patrick Reed right there. I believe tied him for third, moving up in that leaderboard. And didn't win, obviously, because Rory Mcilroy won, but a great shot nonetheless.
It's so funny in golf when you see something like that because when a hole-in-one or an eagle on a par 5 happens and someone's just so confused like that, they're like, did that actually go in? And then you see their name just jump so many names on the leaderboard, and they're just right in prime contention to win the entire tournament. It's so funny how just the standings or like the leaderboard, the scores, it just changes so much on one little shot like that. I have to go with my guy Rory Mcilroy's approach shot on hole 15. Here we have a 3-way tie with Ludwig Oberg and Justin Rose. And Rory McIlroy's got to do what he has to do. Puts the ball right on the putting green. It's going to go, bang, right in position, just 3 or 4 feet from the hole. And McIlroy has a chance to birdie there and take the lead. And he does exactly that. McIlroy breaks the 3-way lead and gets in front with that approach shot right there.
Well, this is tough because I will always remember that Reed shot. That was just crazy. I also knew, they cut back to him like something's about to go down. I mean, just a little one hop in the pin. That was great. But I am partial to Rory. I'm going to give this one to you, Rob, because of the moment that was in, because golf is all about mental fortitude and mental pressure. Rory, that was only 2 holes after that double bogey shot into the creek on 13. He's in a 3-way tie. Oh, my God. Am I going to fumble this bag at Augusta yet again? And that approach shot on 15 and that approach shot on the playoff hole are 2 of the shots that really sealed it for him. So I'm going to give it to you, Rob.
McIlroy was really being able to land the ball on the green in that last, including the playoff hole. In those last 4 holes, really able to do a good job of landing the ball on the putting green and putting it near the flag pin. All right, so Joe, moving on. We got best baseball from MLB and college baseball. What play got your attention this week?
I'm going to go to the NCAA this past Wednesday. Battle of Cincinnati, Xavier playing against Cincinnati. Look at this rivalry game. Diving forward with the Willie Mays style catch out in center field. And look at him just go crazy. Losing his mind off this catch, as I would too. I don't blame him. Wow. I mean, that's an insane catch. Look at it in slow-mo right here, zoomed in. Flat out over the shoulder.
Right in the back.
Also, I may be mistaken. He wears number 4. Didn't Willie Mays wear number 4?
I believe so. Yeah,
wow.
I believe so.
What was that little trot he was doing at the end?
No, he's either high knees or some karaoke, it looked like.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself either.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to top that, Rob?
Yeah. Well, I'm going over from instead of Big 12, Big East baseball matchup, I'm going over to the Sun Belt college baseball.
Oh,
matchup.
yeah, the Fun Belt.
Bring me some Fun Belt action.
Oh, yeah.
Jacob Wax makes a running back flop Odell Beckham catch like that.
Whoa.
Damn.
Whoa.
Back flops on the ground. Let's get another look at this to get the out. Jacob Wax.
Wow.
Odell Beckham Jr. right there.
Made that so much harder on himself.
Yeah. My God.
Makes it a little bit harder on himself, but he makes it an entertaining play, and they call the Sun Belt the Fun Belt for the reason.
Beautiful.
Wow. I mean, I'm partial to the Fun Belt. I have many friends at Fun Belt schools, including James Madison, being from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Man, this is a tough one. Okay. Only because our boy Jacob Wax did make that play much harder on himself than he needed to by overrunning that ball. I'm going to have to give it to Joe. I mean, the parallels to Willie Mays were staggering in center field. The basket catch over the shoulder. He wears number 4. I'm going to have to give it to him, but both fantastic plays. They each covered a lot of ground. That is the definition of plus defense.
I mean,
not liking it from
he overran it, Strap. He overran it.
I think that's one of those things where it's like you're going super, super fast. One of those rare moments where you're just going so fast and you cannot slow your own momentum down. And he was just going. He's like, I can't slow down. I'm going to stick my glove up behind my head. And boom, Odell Beckham.
Wow.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
Left fielder didn't know what to do. He's like, I don't know what he's doing.
You have it, man. You have it.
So
All you.
as we do every week in any sport, there's going to be calls that people disagree with. So it's good that we highlight a few. Joe, what is one referee or umpire blooper or mistake that really stood out to you this week, and you just gotta highlight?
I gotta do a blooper. I'm gonna go to AAA baseball. The Albuquerque Isotopes versus the El Paso Chihuahuas.
Oh, wow.
This play was crazy right here. Bases loaded, walk, but he catches the catcher napping, throwing the ball back to the pitcher, and causing an errant throw as well from the guy from shortstop throwing to third. And now the guy who went from second to third, now he'll score. 3 runs scored off a bases loaded walk. That is
so that was on the Chihuahuas?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, what are they doing?
The guy who got walked ends up at second base, and everybody who was on scores from a base loaded walk with about 2 errors. Kind of insane.
So, because the first guy comes in on the lazy throw back to the pitcher.
Back to the pitcher.
That's a smart play.
Steals right there, and then the shortstop has the errant throw to third, and then everybody else scores.
Just heartbreaking.
Wow.
Just heartbreaking for the catcher.
That's bad baseball.
Heartbreaking.
Radioactive, you could say, from the Isotopes. Wow.
You can't let moments like that get by you in a game, you know? You just can't have mistakes like that. But it's going to be hard to really beat that one. But I am going to go with the Warriors-Grizzlies play-in game the other night. Here's this foul call on Kevon Looney, who doesn't even fight for the rebound. People think it's going to be on Moody at first, who's trying to get the ball from Zach Edey on the way down. You'll see right here.
Where is
Curry's going in.
Left.
Zach Edey's trying to get the rebound. Moody's trying to take it from him.
Oh, my goodness.
Looney's on the far left. They call the foul on Looney, not even Moody. Kevon Looney gets the foul call. Luckily for the Warriors, even though they lost possession right there, they go and win the game. But what are we doing here? Looney barely touched Zach Edey on the way up. What are we doing?
What are we doing? I've been in situations like that. I'm not sure what they're calling there. Didn't even really get tangled up with him. Also, another blown call from that game. I did not think that was a 5 seconds on Memphis. I think on the ensuing possession,
You usually don't see referees call that in the clutch. A lot of times.
I thought, and on the replay, I counted, I was at 4. I was not at 5. Wow. Wow. Oh, man. I mean, the thing is, I'm actually going to give this one to Rob, and here's why. Here's why I'm going to give this one to Rob. Because that was just as much of a heads-up play by that runner than it was a blooper. Because, you know, the lazy throw back to the pitcher exists for a reason, because usually no one's trying anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that was just a really heads-up play by the Albuquerque guy. That is just ridiculous. A professional referee to do that, a high school referee to do that is awful. And then they follow that up with almost like a 5 seconds makeup call, phantom call. I don't really know. It's such a big spot.
He wasn't even in the scramble for the rebound.
No, he wasn't even in the scramble. I don't think there was a foul to be called on Moody either. Maybe a travel for falling. Yeah, I'll have to give that one to you, Rob. That was... Both of those were just ridiculous for different reasons.
Well, to break the tie, what was the best miscellaneous sport play of this week? Joe, start this one off.
I'm going to go with the Blue Jays at the Yankees. Tying run at second, 2 outs. Cody Bellinger diving to save the game for the Bronx Bombers.
Wow.
Showing off the leather in right field.
Wow.
Diving towards the right field line. Makes a great solid catch, showed in slow motion again for the 3rd time. Wins the game for the Yankees, who are now 12-7 on the year after beating the Rays last night at Steinbrenner Field, which is their AAA field. So basically the Yankees had 95% fans last night against the Tampa Bay Rays, but this play this past Wednesday against the Blue Jays won them the game, and was pretty clutch by Cody Bellinger.
I cannot wait with the loaded rosters in New York City. I cannot wait for that Subway Series.
Oh.
It's going to be a good one. Juan Soto, not on the Yankees anymore, but he's on the Mets. He's going to play in Queens now. And we have Cody Bellinger on the Yankees, Jazz Chisholm. It's going to be a good series.
How about the torpedo bat kind of controversy, kind of just falling off a cliff? Like, nobody cares anymore at this point.
Well, everyone's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. Seems like it.
Well, except the teams that don't want to spend money. But that's a different story.
Are some teams, they haven't adopted it yet? Some teams?
Most teams have, though,
it's more just by player now. It's by player who wants it. Like, some players, like, making their own specific orders and stuff. But, like, I think it was amplified because it was the Yankees, clearly, that were doing it. And they were feasting that first week for sure. Since then, they're
overhead shot. Hell Hello.
Since then, their offensive numbers haven't been nearly as gaudy. But, people have moved on now and just accepted that there's a
Yeah,
gap.
I feel like I haven't heard discussion of that recently. Okay, so I'm going to go with NCAA women's lacrosse. Here's
Wow.
Florida's Kaylin Luciano, a behind-the-back
Oh.
Stetson. Let's get a closer up look at this. Boom.
Wow.
Right there. Florida would go on to win this game by
celebrate.
quite a bit. Double-digit scoring in lacrosse, but Kaylin Luciano going behind the back like Chris Paul a little bit. Not for the pass, but for the score.
Wow, that was wow. I mean, lopsided game. So when it's 16-2, you can try that. But that is a fantastic play. And then she kind of just did like the casual celebration, trying to act like she does
there.
that
She's been there
all the
before.
time. I mean, wow, that is just embarrassing for the goalie. I mean, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm gonna have to give it to Rob. I've seen some good catches from Bellinger before in right field. It was in a big spot, but I feel like a lot of people, a lot of right fielders would have made that catch. How many people were doing that behind the back? I mean, it was a lopsided game, but man, that is
I'm
just
imagining
special.
a lacrosse stick in my hand and go, how do I don't even know. How
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Well-
and I'm always partial to lax,
Well,
Not lax.
those are all great plays from both Joe, and it was fun sharing some of mine that I thought were cool too. But I appreciate the title, Ryan Hopper. That's gonna wrap things up for our best plays of the week. We appreciate you having on. We're gonna have you on in just a second. You're our guest picker, but we've got some Texas athletics to talk. A little bit of news coming up across 3 different sports: baseball, softball, and football coming up here pretty soon. This is the One to Know Sports Show.
Welcome back to the One to Know Sports Senior Show. Joseph Duffey here, back with Robert Gonsoulin. It's now time to talk about some Texas sports. A lot of things going on in Texas athletics recently, Robert. We're going to start with the fact that there's a new #1 team in baseball. Texas baseball now #1 in the NCAA polls, atop the rankings for the first time since 2022. Despite these new rankings, the Longhorns looked a little bit shaky in the weekend series against Kentucky on the road. Do you think it's finally time to call this team a legit title contender, or are you going to still kind of hold off on that, Robert?
I think so, yes, just because of how good they're playing. Coach Schloss right now, the change that he's implemented after the departure of Coach Pierce is the pitching. A combined average ERA on the team of 2.95. And in SEC baseball, you know that the name of the game is scoring runs, getting hits, home runs, dingers, triples. That is the name of the game. It's high scoring in SEC baseball. Your ERA on your team is a 2.95. That's pretty good. If you can keep the other team's bats to rest while you yourself, your team, you're giving your offense that comfortable edge to go score runs, I believe that Texas is going to go they're going to continue to win their games, win their series by more than 2 or 3 runs. We've been seeing that. They had a gutsy win last night. I think they won by about 1 run.
Yeah, 3-2. Yeah.
They're consistently winning by 3 or 2 runs. That's because the pitching is giving the offense a comfortable edge to go ahead and score more runs. So I do think, yes, as of right now, things can happen. SEC baseball is so hard, but right now they are a legitimate contender.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. Offense, can come and go. High octane offense is not sustainable. Pitching and good defense is, however. And we saw Jared Spencer. Unfortunately, he had to leave the game early, and prematurely against Auburn. But when you have a pitching staff like the Texas Longhorns do with Luke Harrison, Jared Spencer, Ruka Riojas, a great Sunday starter like him, you can be in a contention for every single game because you're holding great offenses at bay. And you saw it against the Georgia Bulldogs about 2 weeks ago. One of the nation's best offenses rolling into Austin, and you pretty much held them at bay the entire series in that sweep at the dish. And I've been saying it pretty much the entire offseason, but I think the biggest acquisition, the most important acquisition for the Texas Longhorns was not Jim Schlossnagle, it was Max Weiner. The man who goes by the Arm Farm on Twitter as his handle, of course. And you think about the past few seasons for the Longhorns, it wasn't offense that really was, killing them. It was giving up those runs. And when you have all these starters and a young freshman like Dylan Volantis, who can pitch at least 3-4 innings if you want him to from the bullpen, you're in contention for every single game. So I'm in full agreement with you, Robert, about this pitching staff. The pitching is what will ride them really to the College World Series, I believe. They could possibly win it, in my opinion, but pitching is how they'll win these games.
Yeah, and definitely. So with that being said, moving on right here. On the other side of Kamal Street, last weekend, Texas, they didn't do too hot against their series against Tennessee. They lost that 2-1, and they dropped to number 3 in the rankings. How do they overcome this?
Well, the offense was lousy, but look, Tennessee is a solid team. They've now beaten number 1 and number 2 in the country in softball. They played great defense. Of course, we saw Carlin Pickens had a great showing from the mound. Of course, had the fastest pitch just about last week, I believe, or the week before. But you look at the games that they lost. They won the opener with Tegan Kavan pitching. But the games that they lost, the first one they lost, they struck out 8 times and had 6 runners left on base. Then in the finale, the Sunday finale that is, they struck out 10 times and had 7 left on base. That's not going to cut it in the SEC anymore, really, or really in this playoff push that they really want to have in the last month right now. They have to score. They have to score these runners in scoring position and stop leaving so many runners on base and change their approach at the plate. Maybe play a little bit more small ball. You don't have to swing for the fences all the time. But when you're playing against the nation's best, like Tennessee, that's moving up now in the rankings, and now against LSU, who they beat last night, if you pay attention to that game, it takes games like that they had against the Tigers to how you can win against the best, like Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma. So I do think that their offense was a little bit lousy, of course, was not their best showing. Of course, they're a top 3 offense in the women's game, but you can't leave runners on base.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to say about overcoming this tough series. Texas, they kind of had a little rough draw of the way that their schedule fell into place. They already got done with the series they lost against Tennessee. They're a great team. They have a single game against ranked Oklahoma State coming up next. They have a series against number 9 LSU, and a series against their biggest rival, number 2 Oklahoma, who we know is a college softball powerhouse. So my problem with having to play all these games and series back to back to back is, why are we starting our ace Tegan Kavan twice in one series? Their best pitchers, their best players, they need all the rest that they can get, especially when you're playing so many hard teams back to back. And Tegan Kavan, they go and win the first game 3-0. She pitches. They lose the second game. She's back for the third game, and they go and lose that one. They lose 2 straight games. So moving forward, I think more players like Tegan Kavan and Ashton Maloney, they need to get more rest, going all out, and instead of going to have to play fully against their opponents twice in a series. Now Ashton Maloney, she plays a different position. That's the name of the game. You play baseball, you play softball, you play every single day. But when they can get their rest, they should get their rest. Tegan Kavon, however, she's a pitcher. She doesn't need to be playing twice in one series, especially when you have so many games coming up ahead where you know you are going to need her to be pitching. You're going to need her against OU. You will need her against LSU. Don't go try to burn out your best pitchers when you know the road ahead is going to be even tougher.
And they've shown over-reliance with a lot of Tegan Kavon. I mean, and to be fair, it's worked to their benefit for the majority of the season. Of course, she won that first game handily, but had a little bit of more struggle with not a lot of run support in that finale. Moving on, Robert, to on Monday on Texas football added former wide receiver from Stanford, Emmett Mosley, the fifth from the transfer portal, the 6'2", 205-pound wideout led all ACC freshman with 48 catches last season and produced 525 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns in his debut season with the Cardinal. What do you make of this addition to the Texas Longhorns receiving core, and what does this wide receiver room still need? Well, exactly. Is this another weapon that they actually need? Excuse me.
Yes. Okay, so this wide receiving core, it won't be as good as the one in 2023 or last season, but it will be good. This wide receiver core will be good. And with the addition of Emmett Mosley, I think the receiving core is complete now. So you have some veteran-ish experience from players like Mosley, and you have a player like DeAndre Moore Jr., who are going to lead the team with that kind of sense of we've played college football, we've played in big games, we've played consistently throughout our prior seasons. They bring that veteran experience. You also have Ryan Wingo, who's played a season. He's going to be back. He's going to kind of bring in that second-year experience that the team kind of needs, that firepower. I think Wingo kind of makes a case for wide receiver 2 or 3. I think it's going to be a toss. Depending on how, so Mosley the best in the portal, right?
Probably one of the best, yeah.
You could make the case that Mosley could be wide receiver 1. You could make that case. I think Wingo will be 2. DeAndre Moore, I talk about, he brings that veteran experience that I was saying, but Wingo is still wide receiver 2. And so you have that complete trio, and then behind them you have Jaime French and Kalik Lockett coming in. Parker Livingstone, he hasn't played that much, but you have 3 other young guys who are kind of taking up the mantle that Wingo had last year, who else? DeAndre Moore was a second-year player, but he was still kind of a rookie on the wide receiving core last year.
He didn't get much playing time before.
So you have 3 guys now who kind of have experience. 2 of them have veteran experience. Then you have 3 other guys coming in who are kind of the new hotshot rookies on the wide receiving core. So I think that this core will be complete now. They'll be good, not as good as it was before, but still very good.
Was this, was this a transfer addition like A.D. Mitchell, like Matthew Golden, like Silas Bolden? Probably not, but he's still a very solid player. There was a game he had last year having 168 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. A great player, really, for depth purposes and for Archibald next season, of course. The young Prince finally getting his chance to start a season, have a full season as the sheriff for Texas football, but I think it's good for Arch to have another big target like this. If you want to call him a big target, he's not exactly huge, but in terms of height, he's a big target. The more targets, the better. You can never really have too many tall receivers. I think that was a little bit of my gripe last year with the receiving core, that DeAndre Moore was really the tallest we had. I always like to see a little bit more bigger targets like A.D. Mitchell. Xavier Worthy's not exactly huge, but when you had Jatavion Sanders, he made up for it as well, along with Gunnar Helm, who was great last season as well. So I think having these targets for Arch Manning works in his favor. And it's good for Texas when you have these players that are running over to play for you now. Back-to-back college football playoffs, just missing the finals by barely a little bit.
Went to the Final Four. That's not what they call it, but they did go to the Final Four.
Back-to-back years. It's going to be a competitive receiver room, and you got to be willing to sacrifice your stats if you're Emmett Mosley the fifth. Don't know if he'll have that many receiving yards or touchdowns as he did last year with the Cardinal, but it's going to be good for depth for the Texas receiving room.
I really like how Sark is just trying to reload at the wide receiver position. I mean, we saw that he brought in A.D. Mitchell. He kept Worthy from transferring away his last year, and they had a great core there. He got Whittington to return that year. Then he comes back this year. 3 receivers gone. What does he do? Sure, I mean, at the time, he had Jonte Cook in the wing, but he brings in Matthew Golden. He brings in the Silas Bolden. He brings in Isaiah Bond. 3 huge names out of the portal, and then they're all gone. What does he do again? He brings in the top receiver in the portal, Emmett Mosley the fifth.
And before we get out of here, of course, Bert Auburn is just announced his transfer for Texas football. Looks like Will Stone is going to be the new place kicker that is for the Texas Longhorns now, and not just doing kickoffs.
Yeah, so huge news. I think that Bert Auburn, he's going to be using his 5th and final year of eligibility. I know that Joe, we're in the same high school graduating class. He was also in that class as well. And Bert Auburn, it's tough to say, but like, he was one of Texas's best kickers in recent memory. In 2023, that Texas Tech game, he was lights out. Yeah. He was lights out in that season. He was pretty good last year, a little bit more inconsistent. He didn't kick as many field goals, but he got put to the test a lot in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, I think that's his poison.
That's just his place, man. That did not go well for him. But we'll wrap it up for Texas football here, talking about a lot of different transfer additions and, of course, Texas baseball and softball. When we come back in our D block, we're going to have our trivia segment with Michael Alvarez, another senior here. Don't go anywhere on the 1-0 Sports Show.
Welcome back to the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm here alongside my co-host Joseph Duffey here at the end, our guest picker Ryan Hopper,
Let's go.
and our executive producer Michael Alvarez. We're here to start our next segment of the day, trivia. And Michael, I know you've got some questions up your sleeve to try and test us with, see if we can put our sports knowledge to the test.
In honor of the NBA playoffs starting this Saturday, as the play-in concludes tonight,
Let's go.
We will be doing an NBA playoff trivia. I got 5 questions here. Of course, winner takes all. I mean, right now, I don't know what happened to the trophy we had. Right now, Rob is holding the trophy from his plays of the week, but he will have to give it up unless he finds a way to get another dub. He goes 2-0 on the day.
There you go.
But yeah, we're ready. We're ready to get it off. So get that first question going. We'll be ready.
It's crazy.
All right. First question: which lower seed was the first to win it all without having home court advantage? And it has the year on there, so y'all can go ahead and you pick there.
So this is a The first to win
So
it
these
all
are
is
all-
a 5 through 8 seed.
Yeah, these are all
Okay.
champions in their respective year, and it's whichever one was the first one to do it as the lower seed. So who was it?
And do we all answer at the same time?
Y'all can go. Whoever has the answer can point it out. We're gonna get 3 answers, and then we'll be on there.
I'm going to go with the 95 Rockets, because that was not the clutch city year, I believe. They went back-to-back, but this is the other year where I think that they were supposed to lose to the Phoenix Suns. And whether I get that wrong, my answer is A, the 95 Rockets.
Okay, I just have a hard time believing that a team with Hakeem the Dream, Kenny Smith, God bless those knees, he went to war, and a lot of other guys, a lot of other great role players, was not a top 4 seed in the Western Conference at that time. So I don't think it's the Rockets. That Pistons team, they were a scrappy underdog, but I feel like that defense probably did carry them to a top 4 seed. I'm going to go with D, the 06 Heat, with a rapidly getting fatter Shaquille O'Neal.
Yep.
I'm going to go with D, too. I believe it was the 06 Heat. I know the Mavericks blew that series in the finals against D-Wade. Let's say the officials kind of got in the way a little bit there with the free throw line, the foul call. But look, I think it was that team that kind of made a late run of it with Alonzo Mourning as well, old Alonzo Mourning, the Hall of Famer, along with Jason Williams, Gary Payton, and the young D-Wade. I think it was that team that kind of just made a late run.
All right. So we have Rockets and double Heat. So it was the 95 Rockets. They snuck in as the 6th seed.
Wow.
The Pistons were also low, and the Mavs were also lower, but they weren't the first team to do it.
Oh,
the Heat actually were a top 3 seed. So that Heat team, I mean, that East was that East was a little weak outside of LeBron's Cavs, and that team was also still a little iffy just because it was just LeBron. But yeah, that was number 1 question. So Rob takes question 1.
They played the Suns that year, right?
They played the Heat. The Heat played the Mavs.
No, the Rockets played
the Rockets played the. Yeah, I think they played the Suns.
I believe it was the Suns.
Or was that not the Knicks year?
It was the Suns. Was it the Knicks? I thought the Knicks were the year before.
Well, it has to be a team from the East, guys.
Yeah.
I think it's
was it the Suns?
So it's not the Suns.
2 years we played Magic one year and the Knicks one year.
I think it was the Knicks.
They also got the.
Oh, because one year it was the young Shaq and Penny Magic.
I think that was that
It was
year.
the Magic. They swept too.
Yeah.
As a 6 seed, they swept the Magic.
Wow. Yeah, that was young. That was young. All right, but all right, moving on to the next question. Rob takes that one. All right, which player has the most threes in a single playoff game? Damian Lillard, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, or Donovan Mitchell?
I'm going with Klay Thompson and I think it might be against the Thunder in 2016.
Oh, that was an electric game.
Or was it 2016-17 season?
Yeah, 20.
Wait.
If you're thinking of the Thunder, it was a
15-16 season.
Yeah,
The 15-16
and 9 Warriors.
Yeah,
Yes, that's the
Yeah,
Klay.
that was during that they came back from a 3-1 deficit. But you know, I don't know. I don't know how tricky you're getting with these questions.
Think about
because I feel like there's 2 red herrings up there. You know.
Well, don't sleep on Donovan Mitchell.
That's
don't
what
sleep
I'm
on bubble
saying.
Donovan Mitchell, and don't sleep on fresh out the bubble Damian Lillard. That game where I think he had like 20 plus points in a row. Who knows how many threes he knocked down in that one?
Man. Or it could be Portland Damian Lillard.
Yeah, or it could be Portland Damian Lillard. That was Portland Damian Lillard.
Oh man. Oh yeah. It wasn't on the Bucks yet.
So yeah, no, tough picks here.
I'm just gonna go with a safe answer and say the chef. Go see
The chef?
Steph Curry.
So we have a Klay and a chef.
I have no clue.
I'm gonna go because he would have had to shoot them back into a game at some point. I'm gonna go Damian Lillard.
All right. So we have a Steph, a Klay, and a Dame. No Donovan Mitchell love. All right, we'll move on. And the answer is it was indeed Game 6, 2016 play. He had 11. Dame and Steph both have 10.
against
So
the
they were
Thunder, right?
yeah, it was against the
And
Thunder.
then you just threw D. Mitch in there.
I
And D. Mitch had 8. D. Mitch had 7. I think he had 7 in the bubble.
I remember
That's what I
Clay
saw.
was on the court against the Thunder, and Curry was checking into the game, and he was on the scores table for about a minute and a half. And he's just watching Clay down the court score. And I remember distinctly, I was just finished with 7th grade. I'm watching Curry on the scores table, watching Clay. And he's like, I remember doing that facial expression. I remember that.
All right, and just like that, Rob is up 2-0.
Wow.
I don't know. We do have 3 more questions. Y'all are going to have to either find a way to tie this or take the lead on 3, and hopefully Rob missed some more questions because he did start off hot. So let's move on to the next question. We have, which franchise was the first to come back from down 3-1 twice in the same postseason?
Wow.
So you got to think.
Wow.
Was it you had the 2016 Warriors, we all know about that one. We had the Miami Heat 06, 20 Nuggets, and then the 95 Rockets. Now this is twice, not just once. This was twice in the same postseason. I thought that would make it a little trickier on you.
That's a smart move if you're confident in this one. Okay.
That 1920 series when the Nuggets won, what time of the year?
2020.
That was
That's
Bubble
the
Nuggets.
bubble.
That was Bubble Nuggets.
That's Bubble Nuggets, right?
20 is Bubble Nuggets.
Yes, sir. The Bubble Nuggets.
This doesn't mean that they won the finals. The Lakers won that year.
This is just, did they come back down 3-1? Which team came back down 3-1 twice? The same
Twice.
and one team has only one team has done it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
There's
C, the Bubble Nuggets.
Small hint.
I'm going
that is my
with
guess.
the Bubble Nuggets.
It's the Bubble Nuggets. It should have been the Jazz and Clippers. They came back against.
That's
So we
right.
all got
That's
the Bubble
right.
Nuggets. So no one's fallen for the 2016 Warriors.
This dude, bro.
2016
No one's going
Warriors is only once.
No, because they played the Rockets.
Nobody's going for the 95 Rockets, as we already talked about.
No.
Like, don't do this.
And nobody wants to talk about. Okay. All right. With that being said, and the answer is, it was indeed the C,
Yes.
the Denver Nuggets. The Warriors came back down 1 time, and the other 2 were not down 3-1 at all in any of the series.
Oh, wow.
The Nuggets. So yeah, just some tricks in there. I knew the year. That question would have been harder if I took out the years, but I thought the year would be a little bit more helpful for y'all.
Yeah.
So just like that, Rob is up. He does have 3-1-1.
Oh,
So
wow.
y'all need to
Fitting
hope
with the question.
Y'all need to hope for some misses, and y'all need to lock in
I
these
knew
next
it
2.
wasn't the Warriors. They came back against the Thunder in 16. They were up 3-1 on the Cavs in the finals, but I don't know who they played in the second round. In the first round, they played James Harden and Dwight Howard's Rockets, and there was
Oh, my God.
there was just so much lack of chemistry in that Rockets locker room that year. The
Dwight
Warriors,
was a problem.
no
dude.
problem with the Warriors getting by the Rockets.
Man.
All right, and just like that, we have a 3-1-1. Y'all can still tie. And I have if y'all complete the comeback, I do have a tiebreaker that's not on there, but is in my head. Of course, it's going to be some LeBron knowledge, so hopefully we can get there. Y'all better be locked in for that. All right, moving on. Let's go to the next question. We have, who was the first player to record a triple-double in their playoff debut? That was that Magic Johnson,
I kind of wish there
Luka
was
Doncic,
2 Ys in play.
Bron, or just this random Johnny McCarthy guy?
He made this guy up. Johnny McCarthy's not real. No
Johnny-
way.
no.
No way Johnny McCarthy is real.
Well,
Everyone-
especially with only 1 N in Johnny, but 2 Ys in playoff.
Sometimes there are mistakes.
Now, who is this Bron? Is this a? Is this a like Bol, a player from South Sudan?
This is
Does Bronny get PT?
this is the greatest player of all time, LeBron.
I
Bronny
see.
get PT
PT and what?
in the series against the whoever.
Joe, you don't understand.
Timberwolves.
Great player. Played with Dolph
He didn't
Shays
play
back
time.
in the day.
Oh, Bronny? No, Bronny
he's
absolutely not.
basketball.
Bronny has no chance.
Back when they were shooting lamps like this.
All right, so
I'm going.
we had Luka, Magic, Bron, and Johnny McCarthy.
I'm a lock in Showtime Magic. I gotta go with
Showtime
it.
Magic.
Give me Luka.
Luka?
Okay, I firmly believe this is Magic. The first to do it. The Magic was running center at 6'8" in the finals his rookie year. I think it was his rookie year.
So double Magic, and a Luka and a double Magic.
Yes.
And the answer is Johnny McCarthy in the 1960s. I knew he was. I put that name in there. Yeah, everyone look up Johnny McCarthy.
There he
in
is.
the 1960s.
Wait, he might have actually played with Dolph Shays, bro. We were just messing around.
take a look.
Look at this dude, man.
1960s.
Check out his basketball card.
Oh my
It was
Johnny
McCarthy
Joseph McCarthy
in the
6'1".
in the
That's real, bro.
1960s.
No way. We're looking up Rochester Royal basketball, bro. Oh my God.
He might have played with the Big O.
Oh my Lord, this cannot be real.
He went
Johnny
to
McCarthy.
Canisius College.
Goated.
Oh my Jesus. A fourth round of the NBA draft.
Played 8 years, 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists against the Minneapolis Lakers. Wow.
In the 60s. Johnny
March
McCarthy.
playoff basketball. March 16th playoff basketball.
Pre-integration basketball.
Magic was the first to do it after basketball was thankfully integrated. Wow.
So
Wow.
the scores.
Unreal.
The scores stay the same. I apologize for spelling his name wrong, but I had a feeling that throw that in there, y'all are gonna think, yeah, he's trying to throw us off.
Wow. Lived until 2020 as well.
I mean, you spelled the
Good
name
for-
wrong.
I did
Good
spell the
for
name
Johnny.
wrong. I did absolutely miss
Wow.
an N in there, but it's okay. We'll move on to the fifth and final question, just for shits and giggles. Which player won NBA Finals MVP despite not starting a single game during the regular
Wow,
season?
this is a great question.
Was that Cedric
Wow.
Maxwell?
This should be an easy one.
These are all NBA champions. I just want everyone to know.
Yes.
Is this not the easy answer?
And these are all
don't know.
Finals
I'm
MVP. These are all they
between
all
two.
have
hurt.
Give me Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala.
Nice. Shades of Max Kellerman.
Shades.
The aliens of the death theme pointed at the
I think
earth.
I am gonna go Andre Iguodala.
Iguodala.
So, yes, I don't think Iguodala started that year, but a
These all-
single regular season game?
Didn't start a single regular season game.
He had to have started that season.
Yeah, I feel
There's
like he
no way.
probably did.
Someone had to be hurt like at least one time, you know. 'Cause he was sixth man that year, and he could have been like
Yeah, I mean,
easy plug in.
But it could have been
Clay
like
got hurt.
Bogut who was hurt, and they're not gonna put Iguodala in.
What if well they could, cause they played small ball too, like, and then Draymond could have played the 5, and then Iguodala could have been put in like a 3 or something.
It's fair.
Maybe.
I know. I gotta
Who
go.
knows? I'm
can't
gonna
lose,
go
though.
with Max. I'm gonna go with Cedric Maxwell.
that's right. I'm okay. I think the only one I could cross out is James Worthy, because James Worthy was a starter
yeah.
on those Showtime Lakers teams.
Show some respect to Chauncey Billups too.
Chauncey Billups is awesome.
Chauncey Billups, who I'm trying to think, who is he on after the Pistons? Because he started for the Pistons, but wasn't he on a team after the Pistons that may have done things?
But not that he didn't win a finals.
But you gotta remember that it had to lead to them winning a Finals MVP.
I think it's Max. I think it's Cedric Max.
Because Maxwell did win one, I think, with the Lakers.
No, I think.
Or the Rockets?
I think it was the Rockets he won.
Oh man!
He was hooping.
Oh yeah, he
I
was in that.
think he
Yeah, he was in
won.
that backcourt. Kenny Smith and his broken knees. I'm also gonna go with. I'm also gonna go with Cedric Maxwell.
So we have Iguodala and double Cedric Maxwell. Well, that will be the trend of what happened today. It was indeed give me Andre
We just overthought it,
Iguodala.
Joe.
Y'all did
we just
overthink it.
kept overthinking.
Cedric
questions.
Cedric Maxwell did win a Finals MVP, but he did. Iguodala didn't start a single series until those finals just to guard LeBron, and then he held LeBron to a 36-point triple-double. But they did. But they did win. So that's what counted for. That's what
Wow.
counted in
And
the
he
end.
didn't start a single regular. Unbelievable.
And I have to get the trophy back to Rob as he is the best. And
Wasn't even close.
He wasn't even close.
Wow. Let's go.
He 4-1'd him. He
I'm
4-1'd
not
him.
gonna go
Gentlemen's-
3-1 on y'all like
gentlemen's
the
Gentlemen
Warriors,
sweep.
bro.
Unreal.
Get
What
out
a
the
finish.
brooms.
Get out the
Let's
brooms.
go.
And just like that, that will conclude our trivia segment. I thank y'all for letting me come on and having great NBA trivia. We will be back. Ryan will stay on, and we'll be back for our final block of the day, everyone's favorite pick'ems, and it will be NBA Playoff Edition. You won't want to miss it. Coming back up, I Want to Know Sports Show.
Block here in the One to Know Sports Show. Welcome back to the studio. Joseph Duffey joined back with Ryan Hopper returning for the final segment. Then, as always, the co-host, also Robert Gonsoulin on the end of the table. It's time to predict our NBA playoff series winners with the official playoffs starting tomorrow. One last day of the play-in starting today with Heat and Hawks, and then Mavericks versus Grizzlies for the 8th seed in the West. Let's start with the series number 5, Milwaukee Bucks against the number 4 Indiana Pacers. It'll start again tomorrow. It'll be the noon series. Who do you have winning this one, Robert?
You know, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a great player. He knows how to show up in the playoffs a little bit, but I have the Pacers in 6 games. Give me Tyrese Halliburton showing up big here.
Well, you know, I'm going to have to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. Championship pedigree. Don't forget, they won it only a few years ago. Lots of that core is still intact. No Middleton, but arguably Giannis is a better co-star and Damian Lillard. I'm going to go with the Bucks in 6.
I'm going to go with the Bucks in 7, similar to Ryan. I think that they have more playoff experience. They won it just a few years ago, like he was saying. I like this team better for like their depth and for their veteran experience in the playoffs. I don't know if I really trust Halliburton in the playoffs again. He had a solid run, not an amazing run, but Pascal Siakam, he's the one with the most, veteran experience in the Pacers. I think he'll be the one that can really be the catalyst if Indiana were to make a run. I'm going to go with the Bucks in 7 nonetheless, though. We're going to go next to the Los Angeles Clippers, number 5 in the West, going to Denver to play against number 4 Denver Nuggets. What do you have, Robert?
Yeah, I got Denver in a 7-game series. This is probably the most equally matched series in all the NBA playoffs this year. We didn't think the Clippers would be as good. The Nuggets, we thought they'd be better. So they're kind of evening out towards each other right now. Nuggets playing without Michael Malone and James Harden and Kawhi Leonard playing some great basketball right now. So it's kind of on an even playing field. But I do think that Jokic is going to come alive by the end of the series, and it's just I don't see him leaving the playoffs this early. Give me Denver in 7.
I am really, really torn on this one. Ordinarily, had the Nuggets not made such a boneheaded move getting rid of Michael Malone with 3 games left in the season, I would pick Denver. I think they're the better team. Obviously, much more playoff pedigree. Harden, famous history of not delivering in the playoffs. Kawhi, he's a walking injury. But I'm going to go with the Clippers, despite the altitude, in 7 to take this one. I think they'll run out of road in the second round and potentially get run off the floor, but I think Kawhi will stay healthy for this series. I think Harden will continue playing great basketball. They've won 18 of their last 21. Somehow I got the Clippers in 7.
Yeah, you said 18 of the last 21. They finished the season on an 8-game win streak. They have been hot. I'm going to go with the Clips in 6 games. They're kind of my dark horse, believe it or not, for the NBA title.
Wow.
I like this matchup for them. Ivica Zubac is not a bad matchup defensively against Nikola Jokic. He's not going to stop him, but I think he's a solid perimeter presence and low post presence against a great Nikola Jokic. I do think Kawhi Leonard, when he is hot, he is the best player in the game, one of the best players in the game. He hardly misses. We saw it in 2019 with the Toronto Raptors. What a run that was.
Magical.
Should have stayed there, but look, you talk about coaching matchups. It was a bonehead decision, in my opinion, to get rid of Michael Malone, but Ty Lue, he is good with adjustments. He knows how
what
to
he's
adjust
doing.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
Has great outbounds plays.
Absolutely.
I do think that this team will be outcoached. I do think that Kawhi will show up with James Harden. James Harden had a good first round, believe it or not, last year against the Mavericks. So I'm going to go with the LA Clippers against the Denver Nuggets in 6 games. Moving on against the Detroit Pistons, going against the New York Knickerbockers. Moving to MSG to start off that Saturday series at 5 p.m. Who do y'all have winning?
Yeah, I got the Knicks in 5. The Knicks are playing really dominant this whole entire season. And New York City, they haven't really had that glorious playoff aura in the air until this year. And they kind of feel a little, it's a little reminiscent of the Melo days a little bit. Now they went to the Knicks, they went to the playoffs last year. I get that. But this year, they've just been playing a lot better. Credit to the Pistons. They used to be awful. Now they're back in the playoffs playing. I just don't think that a 6 seed going into play, the Villanova Knicks right now, I don't think it's going to be enough with Jalen Brunson going in and running the backcourt. But I like the Knicks in 5. Pistons, they'll make great that they're in the playoffs. It's not going to be this year.
Well, the Knicks are usually my playoff team if they make it, given how the Wizards are tanking right now. My mom is from right outside of New York City. Lots of my family are Knicks fans. Bing bong. The Knicks will take this one in 5. I like what the Pistons are doing. Great coaching job this year. However, they're a young roster, and they're going to step into that cauldron of atmosphere at Madison Square Garden, and they're not going to know what to do. Knicks in 5 because they will take all 3 games at the Garden. The Nova Knicks are heading to the second round, and I hope it's not like the Melo era, Rob, because I actually want to see them make a run.
And it smells like the 1980s with this classic series. 2 legendary Eastern Conference teams. It's so weird in New York how you have these legendary teams, then you have the New York Knicks who have just not won a title since 1972. It's insane with all that money that they still have not found a way to get back on top. But I do think that for the young Detroit Pistons, coached by J.B. Bickerstaff, who's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can get over the hump really in the playoffs. He's really never has gone to the Eastern Conference Finals in his tenures with the Cavaliers and now with the Pistons. I don't know if he can do it with the Pistons at all. So I think I'm going to have the New York Knicks win this series in 6 games. It'll be a close, hard-nosed defensive series, but I think the New York Knicks will be too much for this team. I think for the next series, it'll be the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm most excited for this series, by the way. Who do you have winning this one, Robert?
Yeah, all jokes aside, on the internet and the memes, I do have the Lakers in 5. I do. Listen. The T-Wolves and Anthony Edwards, they're good. They're not nearly as good as they were last year. I mean, it's a little disappointing with how they've played this year. They went all the way to the Western Conference semifinals, really put up a fight with the Mavs last year, and they're kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. They're still good. They're in the playoffs. They just kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. They should be a better team than what they really are. And so T-Wolves, they're not nearly as good this year as this year. Luka and LeBron and Austin Reeves are going to prove to be too much for Anthony Edwards. They're going to win 1 game. It's going to be Game 3. That's it. Anthony Edwards, he's going to come in. He's great. Game 3.
Well, here's what I have to say. Rudy Gobert, he barely got no hair, moving like the tortoise in the hair. Lakers in 6. Look, I can't say Lakers in 5. Anthony Edwards, tremendous talent. I think he himself could potentially deliver them 2 games, especially with a pretty jumping atmosphere usually at I think it's still called the Target Center in Minneapolis. I'm sure Governor Walz will be there too. Maybe he'll do another official proclamation. But look, Luka, AR-15, my boy, and of course the King, LeBron James, are not going to go out sad in the first round. Much better coach. Remember, they're not hampered by Darvin Ham anymore. Thank goodness. J.J. Redick does a much better job on the sidelines.
Hey, Bronny is the game winner.
No, Bronny shouldn't see the floor. Bronny will be watching this like we all will from the bench. So I got the Lakers in 6. I think the Lakers can definitely make a run this year. Shout out to our producer, Michael Alvarez.
I think this will be tightly contested. I don't think it'll be, a quick 5-game series in either favor. I do think the Timberwolves made an undervalued kind of move in how much they needed Cat. Moving him to the New York Knicks. I do think he was a great addition for this team, but you can tell they got a little mad at the end with how he was playing, how soft he could have been, just only shooting threes, not really chasing boards. I'm going to go with the Lakers win this one. I like their front court presence more than I like the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards will be a solid player, but I'm going to go with Minnesota. We're going to move on to the number 8 Heat number 8 Heat or Hawks versus the number 1 Cleveland Cavaliers. I think this is an easy choice.
Yeah, I'm just going to go Cleveland in 4. They're going to sweep. They're also like the Thunder. They got this one, no trouble.
Cleveland! Yeah, that's all I got to say. In 4 or 5, Hawks and Heat suck.
Yeah, Cleveland, gentlemen, sweep. I'm going to go there. How about number 7 Orlando Magic against the number 2 defending champion Boston Celtics, Robbie G?
I love this matchup. I'm not saying it's going to be close. I do have the Celtics in 6, but, come on. The Celtics, the Orlando Magic, this is like a mid-2000s matchup. It's like a mid-2000s matchup. You got these 2 historic franchises playing. It's going to be a lot of aura floating around. Give me the Celtics in 6, though.
Yeah, Magic of aura. I wouldn't necessarily call them historic. Good up-and-coming young team. Celtics in 5. I think Franz Wagner and Banchero can steal 1.
If this was the first half of the NBA season, I think this series goes 7, but the Magic are just completely tanked off.
Yep.
I do think the Celtics, this is where they want to be. This is a great opening round matchup for them. It'll be pretty light for them. I have them winning in 5, in my opinion. We're going to go to the Grizzlies or Mavs versus the number 1 Oklahoma City Thunder. Who do you have winning this one?
OKC in 4. I was saying earlier, they remind me of the 72-9 Warriors. They're not going to have any trouble getting past the first round, regardless of who it is. Give me OKC.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to say a gentleman's sweep. Maybe Ja can get the Grizzlies a game. I refuse to believe they're going out sad to the injury-riddled Nico Harrison-led Mavs in the play-in. If it is the Mavs, maybe AD can steal them 1. OKC in 5.
I do think the Mavs will win this play-in game against the Grizzlies tonight, but it will not be enough. Obviously, there's no Luka Doncic to bail this team out, no Kyrie Irving to bail this team out from the perimeter. I do think the scoring from SGA will be too much. I have OKC winning that series in 6 games. It'll be hard fought, though, but 6 games. And then number 8 for the final matchup for the playoffs, the number 7 Golden State Warriors against the number 2 Houston Rockets. Who do you have, Robbie G?
Yeah, so 2015 to 2019, the Rockets are 0-4 in playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. It was heartbreaking for me, heartbreaking to see. This is a completely new team, though, and I know that they're young. They've been counted out so many times, but this is also, like I said, I'm going to repeat myself, a new team. Emphasis on that. I get it. So they don't have the James Harden, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon bad luck that they had last decade. Give me the Rockets in 6. They're being counted out a lot, but they're going to try to find a way to figure this out. Şengün and Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, they'll find a way.
I think it's going to be a fantastic series. I would be shocked if this doesn't go 6 or 7 games. But unfortunately, Rob, I'm going to have to go with the Golden State Warriors in 7. Here's why. Jimmy Butler was a great addition, great playoff defender, great in the clutch. Steph Curry, also very good down the stretch, though he can be a defensive liability. This is an older team. They're going to empty the tank. I think they'll get run off the floor in the second round, but I think they're going to empty the tank to, unfortunately, break H-Town's hearts yet again. I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah, I completely agree with Ryan. I think they're going to break the hearts of Houston fans for the 5th time. He completely owns Houston. Steph Curry will lead this team to victory yet again in 7 games. It'll be a hard-fought series. We're now going to transition to the following tournament past the Masters, the RBC Heritage. Who do you have winning the PGA RBC Heritage?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Justin Thomas. He's got the lead right now on -10, and I didn't want to make the easy pick. Oh, he's already in the lead after a day. But he's only had by 3 strokes. But he hasn't won since the 2022 PGA Championship, I believe. So this win right here, it's after the Masters. He's got a lead right now, and I feel like after the Masters, everyone, even though there's 3 majors left to play, once you finish that tournament, it's kind of a reset button. This is going to be kind of his reset. He's going to go in, maintain this 3-stroke lead. It will be close, but this will kind of get him back into the conversation of golfers having a breakout year. I got Justin Thomas.
Well, I'm going to... Not that I know that much about golf, but modicum of consistency. Colin Morikawa, he is going to take this one. Didn't have his best showing at the Masters. I mean, you'd expect a guy of his caliber to be in contention. I think he bounces back from that. He finished in the top 15 of every event before the Masters. I think Morikawa gets back on track and wins. I believe this would be his 2nd win of this season.
I'm not even going to pretend to know about this golf tournament, but I'm going to go with Scottie Scheffler getting back on track after not having a terrible Masters performance, finishing 4th, but I'm sure he wanted to have another, title and donning the green jacket again for the Masters. I think he gets back on track as the world number 1. I don't know if they really released new rankings after the Masters, did they?
They did every week. Scottie Scheffler still is world number 1,
yeah.
And even though Rory did win the Masters, he's at number 2 right now. It's a point-based system, and
yeah. So because of that, I think the world number 1 will get back on track and win this RBC Heritage. Finally, we're going to go to number 1 Texas baseball. They beat Auburn last night 3-2. A great pitcher's duel. A great comeback victory as well. Who do you have winning in Texas baseball versus number 8 Auburn, Robert?
They already won last night, so there's 2 games left to play. This is still SEC baseball, and while Texas is the number 1 team, SEC baseball isn't just a walk in the park, singing, having fun, getting ice cream. It's not. They're going to drop 1 game in this series. I got Texas winning 2-1.
I'm going to say that the Longhorns are going to get the brooms out. This is a team of immense character and fortitude. We saw that in the comeback last night. And great pitching. They had pretty good hitting last year. I would say it's improved slightly this year. They have a lot of great underclassmen hitters. Jared Spencer, I believe, will be on the hill tonight. Not sure who's going tomorrow. Maybe Riojas. Great pitching staff. Max Wiener has done a hell of a job. And I think Texas is getting the brooms out and looks like they'll be heading to Fayetteville still numero uno.
And I agree a lot with Robert, actually. I do think this will be a hard-fought series again for Texas. I think Auburn can sneak by a win tonight. Texas doesn't usually lose finales. Of course, this is Easter weekend, so there won't be a game on Sunday. The finale will be Saturday. I think Texas will bounce back to win the series ultimately on Saturday, but I do think they'll lose tonight. But Texas will win this series 2-1. So that'll wrap up this senior show of the 1-0 Sports Show. We do thank you for joining us. That'll do it for today. Please make sure to join our sister shows. This Tuesday will be the College Press Box mock draft show where we'll give our picks, and these same gentlemen will be joined alongside me as we make our picks and analyze what teams need for the NFL draft and where they can go with their rosters. And then also College Crossfire will have their senior show this Wednesday. And also next week, next Friday, will be the final show of the 1-0 Sports Show this semester. It'll be Michael Alvarez's last show as well, and he'll be back to say his farewell next Friday. So thank you to all of our seniors here at TSTV Sports. Please donate to Horn Raiser for our fundraiser. Still 1 day left to go for that. And we'll see you soon. Have a great weekend. For Robert Gonsoulin, he's Ryan Hopper. I'm Joseph Duffey. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Two newbies will start on second base. It's his College Crossfire debut. Please welcome Michael Alvarez. Welcome to the show. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to get it started. I don't blow 28-3 leads like his team over here.
There's rumors he might go to Atlanta this offseason. I think that's an even worse move than being on the Ravens. But at the end of the day, hilarious. It's the return of the mayo pour on College game day. Look at this. Just the guy and the North Carolina, South Carolina game. He is just straight eating it.
Close. It's not really an upset. I guess it can be because you're on the road. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about these two teams. I'm going to keep going with it.
Said it wasn't the Yankees, a Yankees fan.
Go with the Giants if you want to.
All right. Screw it. Let's go with the Red Sox. Fuck. Let's go with the Astros. Let's do it.
Astros.
As much as I want to see Ole Miss come around and knock off Georgia and really kind of also help UT's football chances, I think Georgia's a better football team.
I said at the beginning, I'm coming with some hot takes. This one might cost me some points. They may be the 13th seed in the West, but give me the Lakers.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
I will see the Lakers through from the end to when they're hosting the trophy up in the air.
Michael, congratulations on winning your first episode of College Crossfire. Two newbies will start on second base. It's his College Crossfire.